Hey, welcome. So we're here today to hear from the investigators for the qualified US study. We have Julia Quitmann and Isabell Suck here with us, and they will be explaining the study and answering questions about participation. And I will let them take it from here. So, Julia.
Thank you very much for the introduction and the opportunity to present our study. I very much appreciate this possibility. And I think I've already presented some parts of the study, so maybe some parts are familiar, but of course I want to update you where we are and where we want to be, hopefully with your participation. So this study is on health-related quality of life of children and adolescents with cystinosis. And I'm talking here on behalf of the international team, which I'm going to present in a little while. This whole thing is about health-related quality of life. And what is really health-related quality of life? I think well-being and health-related quality of life are concepts or constructs that are used quite often. But is it really clear what this is? Perhaps not. So I want to give you a short introduction. Patient-reported outcomes, short PROM, are really an essential component of both clinical trials and routine care, not only in pharmaceutical approval and for instruments or like quality assurance and development. PROs are also a critical outcome for patients as well, because they really represent the subjective perception of health from the patient, from the parent. And as you can see, it's a multidimensional construct, which includes the physical part, which includes the emotional part, and of course, social well-being, but also something like role functioning and potentially other domains, which are of particular relevance to the disease or to the person that's being asked. So from the patient's and the parent's perspective in our case. And PROMs measuring health-related quality of life can be generic. So you might already know generic instruments, but what we need are disease-specific instruments. Generic instruments can be used independently of the disease or of a specific treatment, while those disease-specific instruments really reflect the specific challenges and needs in the context of a specific disease and its treatment. So we all got together, you can see our different partners here, because we need such a disease-specific instruments for cystinosis. And here you can see the different persons and partners working together on this project. Here, of course, from the United States, you might all know that Houston, Texas is working with us, but we also have partners in France and in Spain, and here we from Germany, as well as Professor Katharina Hohenfellner, who's working with us. And there are different patient organizations we're working next to the clinicians with. So, of course, from the United States, as you know, but also, again, from Spain, from France, and from Germany, also the patient organization. And then there's also us. Us means me and my colleague Isabell and Steffi. And we are the health-related quality of life working group from the University Medical Center in Hamburg-Eppendorf. And since many years, we're working on the development and the validation of questionnaires to measure really quality of life, especially for children and adolescents and young adults with chronic and even rare diseases. And of course, we're also doing healthcare research, focusing again on optimizing the quality and also the access to psychosocial care for pediatric, but also adult patients with, again, rare and chronic diseases for the patients, again, and their families. And we also focus on the evaluation of psychosocial support services in the field, again, of early parent-child relationships, again, and as well as in the field of exercise-based services for kindergarten children and elementary school students as well. So this is the entire team, and this entire team is trying to develop such HrQoL, or in specific to measure disease-specific health-related quality of life for patients with cystinosis. Because despite the significant impairment experienced by patients with cystinosis, very few studies so far really investigated on the health-related quality of life in this patient group, and disease-specific health-related quality of life measures are so far lacking. So our primary aim in this study is to develop such patient-reported outcome, first for children and adolescents with cystinosis, and maybe later on we can try to develop such a questionnaire for adult patients as well. This instrument will hopefully capture the health-related quality of life from both the parent as well as the child and adolescent perspective. And it should be later on applicable to clinical trials ranging from whatever randomized clinical trials to surveillance studies, or focusing again on the impact of cystinosis and its. So I hope this is somehow clear. When we develop such instruments, this will be like a very difficult, or not difficult is the wrong word, I'm sorry. This will be a very structured study, which will take place in 4 phases. And we need the help of patients and parents, as well as clinicians and patient organizations from all the participating countries. In the first phase, which you can see here, in the first phase, the state of research of cystinosis and health-related quality of life was examined in a systematic literature research, which we just published. And based on this systematic literature review and feedback, which we've got from clinicians, as well as physicians, patients, and representatives from patient organizations, we have developed a semi-structured interview guide, which we want to use in the first phase, where we want to do focus interviews. So we are actually currently in the second phase of this project, where we want to conduct online focus interviews with young patients and their parents to create a pilot version of such questionnaire. How does it look like? How does this work? This interview, which we want to conduct with you, contain 2 parts. In the first part, we will ask parents and patients questions regarding their everyday life with cystinosis. We want to learn about the challenges, about your resources, about the management of the disease and the needs of patients and parents living with cystinosis. And this really includes how you perceive life with cystinosis as a parent of a child with cystinosis, or rather as a patient living with cystinosis. And it's very important that you tell us how you describe how you feel in everyday life, how your child feels in everyday life. So we will ask for examples, how you experience the diagnosis, how you're doing also in relation to your social environments, and perhaps what changed over time since you've got the diagnosis. We would also like to talk about the medical care you're receiving, and we're also interested in how you deal with problems associated with your symptoms, or maybe with the treatment. And in the second part of the interview, we would also like to ask you for your opinion on existing quality of life questionnaire. So we will give you some questionnaires, and we will ask you how you like those questionnaires, and what's missing, and what's good, and what else should be there. So we're really interested in the aspects that, from your opinion, might be missing or might be good and should be perhaps optimized. And this is an online interview that we want to do via Zoom or WebEx, whatever works. And it will take about an hour, sometimes less, most of the times, depending on how much you want to share, even more. And then comes the next part. After those interviews, we have to, of course, transcribe all the material to create such preliminary or pilot questionnaire. And in order to do so, we will write everything down, and then we can do a qualitative analysis of the data, which of course will be anonymized. And then we will summarize the themes mentioned by families and patients, and we will create new questions, really using your terms, your words, to stay as close to your statements as possible. And this preliminary questionnaire, or the pilot version of the questionnaire, will then be discussed again with all the project partners, meaning the physicians, but of course meaning you as patients and parents and representatives from the patient organization. And then we will proceed with the next phase of the study, where we will test this pilot version of the question. And this is the pilot testing and cognitive debriefing. So the third part of the study, which will again be an online pilot test to really psychometrically test this new version. And you can kind of like think this is you being a teacher going with a red pen through this new questionnaire, and we will ask you how you like the items, how you like the questions, if they should be reworded, if they're too sensitive, if something is missing, if something should be optimized. So this is the next step of the study, and of course, then we will have to work again, meaning perhaps we have to revise some questions, we have to optimize some questions, depending on your on the patients and the parents and the experts' feedback. So this means that we will test the material again qualitatively as well as quantitatively. And then the next step will be the optimization of the questionnaire to start the last phase, which is the field testing, where we will again send out a new or an optimized version of the questionnaire to you and ask you again how you like it. So this is the last part, the field and retest. The fourth part means that we will send out the final questionnaire, which we will ask you to fill out online, and then we will ask to send it again after 2 weeks, or fill it out again after 2 weeks to test the retest reliability. So meaning we have to really test the questionnaire from a methodological point of view, if it's really good. And this one shouldn't last then too long. As you can see in the first part, we wanted really to talk to you about all parts of and everyday parts of your everyday life where cystinosis and its treatment kind of challenge you and ask you again about your resources. And the pilot testing will also last a bit longer because we give you the questionnaire and ask you how you like the questionnaire. But this last phase will only be filling out the questionnaire, so this should not last longer than 10 to 20 minutes. So if you're interested in participating, hopefully in one or more parts of the study, you can see here the inclusion criteria. We're asking children, adolescents, and young adults between 8 and 26 to participate in either part of the study, so the interviews, or the psychometric testing and the field test. Therefore, you should be between 8 and 26, or you should be a parent of a child between 0 and 26. And what's most needed is the written informed consent that you want to participate in this study. And of course, it's important that we're talking about challenges and resources and cystinosis. So any other kind of severe impairment is an exclusion criteria, or any other serious illness that is more prominent is an exclusion criteria. So these are the inclusion exclusion criteria. If you want to participate, please send us an email. You can see here the address. indicating that you're interested in participating in the study and providing your name, age of yourself or your child, and tell us if you're a parent or a patient who wants to participate. And then you will get an email from us with the information sheet and the consent that needs to be signed. And if you then agree with the use of your data, please sign this consent and send it back to us via email, and then we will contact you to make an appointment and to send you the interview guidelines or send you later questions. So I hope this made sense to you. I hope that you understand what we're trying and aiming to do, and hopefully you want to participate. With this, I'm done. And on behalf of the whole team, I'd like to say thank you very much for the possibility to present this study once again. And I'm happy to answer your questions about the project, if you have any questions or comments. So Christy, since it's just you, perhaps you have some questions.
Sure, thanks, Julia. So I just also want to mention that CRN is really proud to support in part this work, and this has definitely been a gap in the assets available for cystinosis research, and whether academic or in industry, and just understanding what the experience is like from the perspective of patients and caregivers. So I think you really laid out clearly, how complicated it is to develop a tool like this, and the amount of work that it takes. And and I think your contact information is included there so that our patients and caregivers can contact you if they're interested. What is the timeline for the study? So when do you anticipate finishing?
The sooner the better, but whenever someone feels ready, we're going to include, we're trying to include everyone who's interested in the study, but depending on where we are, this will mean the phase or later phase of the study. Okay. Sounds good. Just about to start those interviews, so whoever wants to participate would be very grateful to have participants. Okay, well, we'll make sure that we get this out, so folks can really understand why the study is so important and what it will entail, and we'll get them in touch with you. Isabel, anything else to add before we?
Yeah, just maybe that within the next few months, we hope to be done with the interviews. And then regarding the next phases, it's going to probably take a few more months until we have the questionnaire developed. So just think about that all the different phases will be done within the next 2 years. So it's not going to be a thing that you have to do tomorrow or this week. It's just going to be, a project that we would be happy if you would participate within the next 2 years. And we also try to incorporate our interview schedule into your timeline. So whenever it would fit best with you, we try to have an availability for the interview.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. This is a pretty easy study to participate in. There's no travel. It's at your convenience. It's you can be at home, and it's just an interview on your experience, which I know our community is happy to share. So, okay, anything else?
Sounds really great. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to present the study, and whatever is needed, we'll do it again. Or whatever is needed to really promote the project. So
okay,
thank
you. We look forward to. Go ahead, Isabell. Sorry.
Please don't hesitate if you have any questions, just to write an email to the email address that you've seen, and we try to come back to you as soon as possible and answer all of your questions.
Okay, and we'll make sure that everybody has your contact information so they can get in touch. Okay, thanks for joining us, and thanks for explaining the QoL study.
Thank you.